Welcome to Housing Development.
I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
Hey, Paul.
Man, we're back, baby.
Back at the HQ from Las Vegas.
Did you survive?
I did. I'm here. I feel pretty good. No rest for the weary. We had Buddy Hughes in town. We'll talk a little bit about that as we get rolling. But an unbelievable week.
Unbelievable last week, and then we're rolling into a pretty incredible this week. But let's talk about last week, right?
Well, and remember our last podcast, we had Guy Minix on from LG. So, now that we're back here, let's give a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, LG Pro Builder.
Let's build the good life together.
Yeah, and appreciate Guy coming on the pod last week, live from HQ in Vegas. Now we're live from, the HQ here at the National Housing Center. So,
I guess Guy was everywhere though, right? Like
he was.
We saw him at HQ. He was up on stage, promoting, closing concert.
Right, yeah.
The man was everywhere.
Well, LG, so as he said, largest electronics company in the world, right? And so they were everywhere.
They were everywhere.
It was great. So give me your impressions of the show.
Oh, man. It was, you just felt from the beginning, day one, that it was different. Right. It was the energy was just so vibrant, and like you knew that we were going to have a good show, but by the end of it, I think we were all kind of surprised at how great the show was going to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, last year's show was spectacular. This show is spectacular. So give us the kind of final numbers, right? Over 120. So from the IBS side,
81,000 just builders, remodelers, and everybody who registered just for the International Builder Show. 124,000 combined when you bring it in with Design and Construction Week. It's the biggest show in 17 years. I mean, let's just leave it at that, right?
Unbelievable.
It just, everybody was busy. Everybody was doing business. It didn't matter if you were an attendee or if you were an exhibitor. Everybody knew that they were wheeling and dealing. And this is what we were talking about coming in, right?
That's right.
That was the place you needed to be to move forward and get your business going for the next, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, education sessions were packed. 100%. Over 250 separate education sessions, right? I mean, the centrals were packed. I mean, it was amazing. It really was. I mean, it was great.
And we're already talking about next year.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando.
No West for the Weary, right?
Yeah, a little bit early. Earlier, right end of January, early February, right?
17th to the 19th of February.
17th through 19th of February. Oh, just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, just 1 week earlier.
Yeah, so Orlando's going to be great. I mean, it's a little venue change. I mean, it's always good for the soul, I think.
And it's the last time in Orlando. I think you want to go there because, you want to feel that last hurrah there.
Yeah, well, and I talked to a lot of members who are going to bring their families, right? Maybe they'll bring their smaller kids to Vegas, but they are going to bring them to Orlando, tag on to the end of the week, or let the families run wild in Disney. So I think I'm really looking forward to Orlando again. Love Vegas, and we'll be back. Yeah. But I think Orlando is going to be a nice change of pace. Yeah. And I expect the show to be just as successful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and let's go. Still talking about the show. Everything was so jam packed in that. I mean, we had Scott Turner, HUD Secretary.
HUD Secretary, yes, first foray out of DC. Yeah, it was great. He was awesome.
Yeah, he had the crowd going. I got to tell you that.
He did. Yeah, I mean, you could tell his roots in the church and as a multifamily developer, a former football player.
Yeah,
I mean, he was great. He got the crowd fired up. I mean, I don't think he was done with his last thank you very much before the crowd was on their feet. So great to hear where he's taking HUD. Obviously there's a lot on the table between rumored personnel cuts, rumored program cuts, rolling back, affirmatively furthering fair housing right after that. So there's a lot. So be able to get him early. Somebody said to me, when you have a chance to come into town and speak it to 80,000 builders who are going to build the houses we need, that's a good venue to be in, and he certainly was great to be there. Walk the floor, saw some of the products. Did
interviews. Absolutely.
No, it was great.
He was very gracious with his time. I mean, even before he came out on stage, he spoke to the officers. You guys had a very good conversation about, and he was like, we need to be lockstep and we need to continue because we're a team. I mean, going back to his football roots, he knows what it is to be a team. And he definitely sees us as part of the team.
Yeah, and that's what we want. That's all we could ever ask out of any administration. And we certainly had, we talk access to the Biden administration. I think we'll have that same level of access, but I expect we'll be able to probably get a little bit more done and probably reverse some of the things that we think are the headwinds from the last 4 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then great show. Most of us came back on Friday. Some of us did a little bit longer. Yeah, this week, no rest for the weary. We had a bunch of things happening, especially on Capitol Hill. We newly elected chairman Buddy Hughes.
Yeah, but talk about no rest for the, talk about no rest for the weary. Drove up from North Carolina on Sunday to testify on Capitol Hill on Tuesday afternoon. He also went over to USTR as well to visit with the U.S. Trade Rep to talk tariffs and Canadian softwood lumber, and we went to the State of the Union on Tuesday night and attended President Trump's technically not a State of the Union,
the joint address,
to Congress. So Buddy had a jam-packed week.
Well, and he went back to our basics, right? He went up to Capitol Hill and said, we need to focus on just the 5 L's, which are lending, labor, lumber, lots, and laws.
Right.
And he got a great, people were listening. I mean, good questions. Right. People understand that housing is important, will continue to be important, and that we need to do something about it.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about, that political moment turning into a policy moment, and Buddy was here. Carl Harris testified 2 weeks before, a week before IBS, he was here. We can. This is our chance to talk about that supply side that's so critical to lowering the cost of housing in the country. So great to have Buddy here. Obviously the president's speech was longest in modern times. I can't imagine what the olden times were. But
he beat out Clinton. Finally, somebody beat out Clinton.
Right. I mean, long speech. Far-ranging, more of a victory lap than laying out new priorities. But
little disappointing that he didn't hit on some of the harder issues like regulations and so on and so forth. Yeah. But Trump's going to be Trump, right?
Yeah, but I guess if the takeaway for me, look, he this is what he's going to do, and the world as well as industry needs to kind of get on board with the program. Doesn't mean we shouldn't push back, and certainly NAHB does when we're misaligned. But look, there's no surprise. We've been talking about this for several podcasts now. Sure. There's no surprises what he's doing, and that just reinforced it on Tuesday night. So. Yeah, it's all fun.
And speaking of no surprises, tariffs actually started this week. Yep. Obviously, we're a little disappointed that, but at the same time, like you said, we knew it was coming. Now we have to pivot and figure out what the game plan is with these in place.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, what the president's going to stand this tariff jag for a while. And I think we're going to be seeing, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off. And so we're talking about Buddy going over to see the U.S. Trade Rep team, and Buddy carried the message of, look, okay, tariffs, we don't love tariffs, but we get it. This is what the president wants to do. But how about we have a long-term trade agreement with Canada, especially on lumber? Let's go do that. That's been 10 years. We have not seen the U.S. domestic industry ramp up their production meaningfully over the last decade when they've had tariff protections, anywhere from 9% to 25%. Now's the time where where President Trump can cut a deal with Canada on lumber, give us some certainty in the marketplace, help us accelerate into what we think is going to be a real good 5 years of building, and with our biggest building material. I think there's a message there.
And to his credit for listening to us, he's opening up the forestry areas that will open up some of the timber, right? We've been talking about this now probably for at least 10 years, probably more. And again, we're not talking about national parks, right? Somebody came up to me and said, like, oh, I guess I have to go see the sequoia trees pretty quick. I'm like, no. Yeah. That's a national park, right? We're talking about the forestry that are supposed to be managed, that, in fact, other countries kind of not mock us, but they clearly tell us, like, you guys are mismanaging this, right? And we see it with the beetle infestation, with the forest fires. There's a better way of doing this.
That's right.
And if it opens up the lands a little bit so that we can take some of the resources that are there, renewable resources, that's a good thing.
Yeah, as Buddy Hughes says all the time, like, trees are a crop, and we have to treat them like that, which means you harvest the crops. And we, as much as the national forests are a recreation place for many people, they were designed to be a renewable source of timber for this country. And so we need to treat them like that. They're not national parks, like you were saying. So the president have an executive order to open up our forests. We've been calling for that for years. It does so many good things. Number one, forest health, prevents forest fires, but again, it puts more timber in the marketplace for our domestic timber production, and that's what we need to see. Until we ramp up our production, we need to go over our borders. We know Canada's our best trading partner when it comes to lumber, but we can start harvesting more here and milling more here, and that's going to be key if we're going to mitigate some of these tariffs.
No, absolutely. Okay, so what's next? I mean, we've gone the last 2 weeks whirlwind. The House is still trying to pass the budget.
Right.
Every time you think that Johnson, there's no way for him to move forward, all of a sudden he pulls something out and he gets the votes that he needs.
Yeah.
But walk me through the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. So first and foremost, we've got to fund the government for the rest of the fiscal year, at least till the end of September.
That's coming up.
That's
that
coming
deadline.
up next week, I think, is the deadline.
Right.
There's a couple schools of thought. One, there's no way they're going to get the 12 appropriations bills done. So we'll move that to the side for a moment.
Yeah.
So it's either a short-term continuing resolution for a couple more months, buy more time for negotiations, which they've had months to do it now. I don't get why this 2 more months would help.
Right.
We do a long-term, year-long continuing resolution. Some people are for it, some are against it. My feeling is we just need to get that away, whatever that looks like. Put it away. Tax bill's coming. There's rumors that it's going to be on the House floor by Memorial Day. That's pretty quick.
Right.
The president, we're starting to see, because of those tight House majorities, he's having to do some personal lobbying on this. You get everybody
making
in
the
line.
calls. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, if he wants the House and the Senate to do his
big one,
his agenda,
right,
he's going to have to help on this, because it really is, a two or three vote majority, and can't afford to. And the Democrats just aren't going to go along. There's
right,
the Republicans didn't go along when the Democrats had control, so there's no surprises there. But the agenda is going to get stalled pretty quickly if they don't get going. So the CR is the first thing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is going to blot out the sun for the next at least week, maybe 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. Again, a lot of hand wringing. Everybody needs to get in place. I don't think the Democrats want to shut the government down.
Sure.
I don't think the Republicans want to do that. Again, I call the unforced errors. The president doesn't want that. He's chugging along, and so a government shutdown would, maybe Elon Musk would like his government shut down, but I just think they don't need to do that. They're changing government day by day, and you don't need to shut down to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess to be continued as always.
Yeah.
I do again want to let's congratulate Buddy Hughes to be the next 2025 chairman. Already clearly on the ground doing the will and the duties that he was assigned to do. So congratulate him, and then also Gary Campbell.
I want to welcome Gary Campbell
stepping up to the ladder, right?
Yeah, from Boston, Massachusetts, multifamily builder, developer, and owner. And he's in town for his orientation this week as well, so he's hit the ground running.
Yep.
But yeah, looking forward to having Gary on board, and I'll give one final shout out to Alicia Huey, who stepped off the ladder this year, and I know she's doing well. It's great to see her in Vegas as well.
Right.
But yeah, I just the train rolls on, and for us, we continue to look for ways to affect policy here in Washington, D.C. We talked about tariffs, but what are the regulatory pieces that the president could move on the board to help kind of mitigate those higher tariffs we're going to see?
Yeah.
So that's where we're headed.
So let's talk internally, because for us, I mean, at least for me, IBS is always kind of the start of the new, right? The next year. Doesn't matter, it's in February, what have you. Our fiscal year is January to December, but for me, IBS is always like, I guess because we're switching over the chairman.
Yeah, it's a Daytona 500 for NAHB, right? We start the year with our biggest
race.
That's
right. So you as the CEO, what are you going to be focusing on this year?
I mean, I think a couple things. I think with the new president, like from the policy side, that's going to be the most important things. What are we going to do to set up? Rob Dietz tells us that the home building is going to be flat this year.
Yeah.
What can we do to start lowering the cost of housing? Get our builders to maybe build more than we're forecast, but really set us up for 2026. Not that we're not discounting 25, but what are the policies with the new administration that we can use? I think that's maybe that's not number one, but that's top of mind. I think continuing to build the membership. We had a membership increase, over 5,000 new members last year. How do we retain those members and grow membership into 2026? How do we continue to inspire our members to get involved? Certainly get active in NAHB, but more importantly, get active at the local level. Yeah. How do we get our great executive officer course, again, celebrating 75 years as the Executive Officers Council? How do we continue to inspire them to go out and get new membership, make sure that they're healthy financially, because it's all about servicing the members and making sure that we're getting them to be the best professionals they can, so they can build the best housing in the country. So that's that. I also think, looking over the horizon, I think for me is really important. What are the challenges we're going to see? Tariffs are one of them,
Sure.
for example. But what are the challenges to the industry moving forward, to the 5 Ls? What are the headwinds that we can either start to reduce or we need to make sure we're prepared for?
Yeah.
I think those are the big 3 things I'm going to work on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there with you
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
help you whatever you need.
Thanks. Yeah.
Obviously. All right. I think that does it for this week, right?
Yeah. Again, just a great week last week at IBS. Thanks to everybody who showed up. For those of you who missed it, put on your calendars for next year. You don't want to miss it. And I want to give a big shout out to the NAHB staff team.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, unbelievable show. 80 or 90% of us were on the ground in Las Vegas. It takes an army and a village to put that on, but just a really a flawless show. And to our exhibitors and attendees, I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. But thanks for being there in Vegas, and look forward to seeing you in Orlando in 2026.
Awesome. And then a final shout out to the big one, right? The biggest electronic company in the world, LG Pro Builder.
Yeah, let's build a good life together. So thanks, LG, and thanks, Paul. Good to see you.
Always, man.
Yeah. All right.
With that,
so until next time, I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
Bye.
Bye.